American rivers are being taken over, not by pollution, by fish. Asian carp are dominating the Mississippi, the Illinois, the Ohio, and nothing is stopping them. But here's the twist. They might be worth $500 million a year. 90 days to catch them. Miss the window and it's gone. From catastrophe to dinner plate, this is the story you haven't heard. How we got here. They didn't arrive by accident. In the early 1970s, catfish and tilapia farmers across the American South had a problem. Their ponds were going green. Algae blooms and aquatic weeds were smothering their operations, raising costs and cutting yields. So they did what seemed logical. They called the scientists, and the scientists had an answer. 4 species of carp from East Asia, bighead, silver, black, and grass carp, had been used for centuries in Chinese aquaculture to filter water and eat vegetation. Import them, put them to work in the ponds, clean the water naturally. No chemicals, no labor, just biology. It worked. For a while. Then in 1993, flooding along the Mississippi River Delta breached the containment ponds. The fish were in the river. And what happened next rewrote the biology of every major waterway in the American interior. Silver carp can grow to 60 pounds. Bighead carp can hit 100. Black carp crush freshwater mussels with molars so powerful they can crack a golf ball. Grass carp consume up to 40% of their body weight in aquatic vegetation every single day. And here's the number that keeps fisheries biologists awake at night. In some stretches of the Illinois River, Asian carp now make up more than 70% of the total fish biomass. Not 70% of one species. 70% of everything. Every fish in that water, bass, catfish, paddlefish, buffalo, combined, they are the minority. The native species didn't just get outcompeted. They got outrun, outfed, and out-reproduced by animals that have no natural predators in North American waters and no biological ceiling on how dense their populations can grow. The federal government responded. The Army Corps of Engineers installed electric barriers on the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal at a cost of over $26 million to keep the fish from reaching the Great Lakes, where scientists estimate an invasion would cause $22 billion in annual economic damage to the sport fishing and tourism industries alone. Congress has appropriated over $1.5 billion toward Great Lakes protection from Asian carp since 2010, and still, environmental DNA has been detected above the barrier more than once. The fish kept moving. The harvest window. Kevin Sauls has been a commercial fisherman on the Illinois River for 31 years. He's a big man with sun-damaged hands and the kind of patience that only comes from 30 winters on open water. He will tell you, without much drama, that the fishing he does today looks almost nothing like the fishing he did in 1993. Back then, a good day was several hundred pounds of native species, buffalo, catfish, drum. Today, on a good day in the right stretch of water during the right 3 months, Kevin and his 2-man crew can net between 15,000 and 20,000 pounds of silver and bighead carp before sundown. That window, mid-March through mid-June, roughly 90 days, is when water temperatures rise enough to trigger spawning aggregations. The fish stack. They move in masses so dense that sonar readings look like solid shelves of biomass hanging beneath the surface. A single set of commercial-grade seine nets, properly placed, can pull 3 to 4 tons of fish in a single haul. But here's the constraint that makes or breaks the economics. Asian carp have soft flesh and high fat content. Once out of cold water, their quality degrades fast. The window between catch and processing plant cannot exceed 4 hours. Miss that number and you've got a boat full of product worth nothing, or worse, product that damages your relationship with a buyer and ends your contract. That's why the logistics are as important as the nets. Building the perfect operation. The mistake most first-generation Asian carp fishermen made in the early 2000s was treating this like a catfish operation. Load the boat, drive it in, sell, by the pound. What they found was a market completely unprepared for volume, fish that spoiled before they reached buyers, and prices so low the math didn't work. The operations that survive today are built differently. Start with the boat. A serious Asian carp commercial rig is not a small craft. We're talking 40-foot aluminum-hulled vessels with onboard aeration tanks, live well systems that can hold up to 5,000 pounds of fish in oxygenated, temperature-controlled water, keeping them alive and in peak condition until they hit the dock. The nets matter just as much. Commercial operators use large mesh seine nets, sometimes stretching 1,200 feet in length, deployed from hydraulic net reels and worked with a precision that takes years to develop. The set is everything. You read the sonar, you watch the surface. Silver carp will tell you exactly where they are. They are famously and absurdly the fish that leap out of the water when startled by boat engines, sometimes in groups of hundreds. Commercial fishermen have learned to read those jumps like a weather forecast. The real innovation, though, has been in what happens the moment the nets close. Processing partnerships built directly into the harvest chain have changed the economics entirely. The most successful operations in Illinois, Kentucky, and Missouri now run on a closed loop. Fish come out of the water alive and go directly into refrigerated transport tanks. They arrive at processing facilities, some built specifically for Asian carp, with lines designed around the species' bone structure and fat distribution, still alive or killed on site within the quality window. There is no middleman sitting on a loading dock. There is no wholesaler holding product for 2 days. The chain from river to chilled processed fillet is under 6 hours, or the fish doesn't ship. The processing challenge. Walk into an Asian carp processing facility in Grafton, Illinois, or Wickliffe, Kentucky, and the first thing you notice is how different the line looks from a standard freshwater fish plant. The problem with Asian carp, specifically silver and bighead, is bones. Specifically, the Y-shaped intramuscular bones that run through the fillet in a pattern so complex that conventional deboning equipment designed for species like catfish or tilapia destroys more product than it saves. For years, this bone structure was the primary reason Asian carp could not be sold as fresh whole fillets in American retail markets. Then, the industry started paying attention to what Chinese and Vietnamese processors had been doing with the same species for generations. The solution isn't to remove the bones, it's to cut through them. Score cutting technology, thin parallel cuts through the fillet that sever the bones into pieces small enough to soften completely during cooking, transformed the marketability of the product almost overnight. Scored silver carp fillets, properly prepared, are indistinguishable in texture from tilapia once cooked. And at a production cost substantially below farmed tilapia, the margin story changes dramatically. Beyond fresh fillets, the processing chain has expanded into fish meal, fish oil, omega-3 fatty acid profiles that compete favorably with wild salmon, and a growing specialty products category that includes smoked and marinated Asian carp under brand names carefully designed to sidestep the word carp entirely. You will find it sold as silverfin in some markets, Kentucky tuna in others. In Louisiana, where Cajun processors have taken the boldest approach to the marketing problem, it shows up in boudin, étouffee base, and smoked dip. The product is the same. The name is the variable that determines whether it moves off the shelf. The market. Nobody expected. Here's the number that surprises people. The largest commercial export market for processed Asian carp from American rivers isn't domestic. It's Asia. Specifically, it's the markets in China, Vietnam, and South Korea where carp is culturally familiar, nutritionally valued, and because American river-caught fish are perceived as wild-caught premium product, is priced at a significant markup over domestically farmed equivalents. The irony is not lost on the people in this industry. Fish brought from Asia to fix an American problem are being caught from American rivers and shipped back to Asia at a profit. Export volume from the Illinois River Basin alone has grown consistently year over year, since viable processing infrastructure came online. Whole frozen bighead carp, the largest of the 4 species, averaging 30 to 50 pounds per fish, command premium prices per pound when shipped to Asian wholesale markets. A single contracted season with an export buyer can mean the difference between a marginal commercial fishing operation and a profitable one. Domestic demand is growing too, but more slowly, running up against the cultural obstacle that carp carries in the American mind. Restaurants have been the early movers. Upscale Asian American fusion kitchens in Chicago and New York have featured silver carp preparations that disappeared off menus within seasons, replaced by demand-driven orders. A handful of food distributors in the Southeast are now carrying silverfin as a budget protein alternative to tilapia and swai in institutional food service, school districts, hospital cafeterias, and correctional facilities. The domestic market is not there yet, but it's closer than it was 5 years ago. What the numbers actually say. Let's put some real figures on this. The Illinois Department of Natural Resources estimates that the Illinois River alone could sustainably yield between 40 and 50 million pounds of Asian carp per year without reducing population pressure on the ecosystem. At a conservative dockside price of 15 cents to 25 cents per pound, the current range for whole unprocessed fish, that is between $6 million and $12.5 million at the river level alone. But the money is not at the river. It is downstream. Processed scored fillets retail between $3.50 and $5 per pound in markets where they are established. Fish meal derived from Asian carp processing waste sells for roughly $400 per metric ton. Fish oil from the same byproduct stream commands higher prices in nutraceutical markets. When you stack the full value chain, whole fish, fillets, meal, oil, specialty products, and export premiums, the USDA and several independent analyses have put the realistic annual market potential for a fully developed Asian carp commercial fishery across the Mississippi River Basin at somewhere between $500 million and $1 billion per year. The gap between where we are and that number is not biology. The fish are there. The gap is infrastructure, processing capacity, and market development. Build the chain and the volume follows. The conservation equation. None of this works if people think of commercial fishing as the solution instead of part of one. Fisheries biologists are direct on this point. Commercial harvest alone cannot suppress Asian carp populations to ecologically safe levels. The reproductive rate of silver and bighead carp, a single female can carry 2 million eggs per spawn, and the fish can spawn twice in a season, means that even aggressive commercial pressure only flattens growth curves. It doesn't reverse the invasion by itself. What commercial fishing does do is create an economic incentive to keep the fish at manageable levels rather than eradicate them. The moment the fish become worth more as product than they cost as pest, the dynamic of the conversation changes entirely. Farmers stopped seeing feral hogs as only a liability when processing markets matured. The same shift is happening slowly and unevenly with Asian carp. The broader strategy, the one that fisheries managers in Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, and the Army Corps of Engineers are quietly working toward, combines commercial harvest with continued barrier maintenance, targeted electrofishing removal in critical spawning areas, and long-term monitoring of native species recovery in sections of river where commercial pressure has been sustained for more than 5 years. In those sections, early data suggests native species are beginning to recover measurable ground. Not dramatically, not fast, but the direction of the trend has changed. The fisherman's math. Back on the Illinois River, Kevin Sauls is pulling his 3rd set of the morning. The surface is jumping. Silver carp are clearing the water by 3 feet in every direction as the boat moves through the aggregation, their silver sides catching flat March light like thrown coins. Kevin does not find this beautiful. He finds it useful. His operation cleared $340,000 last season after expenses, fuel, crew, net maintenance, transport, and processing fees. His best 90 days accounted for roughly 60% of that. He runs 2 boats now. He's looking at a 3rd. He has watched colleagues leave the river over the past decade, unable to adapt as native species declined and traditional markets dried up. He has also watched a smaller number adapt, retool, sign export contracts, build direct relationships with processors, treat the Asian carp not as a consolation prize, but as the primary product. Those people, he'll tell you, are doing fine. The fish that came here uninvited, that ate the food chain and bent the river's ecology out of shape, that leapt into boat windshields and fractured ribs and made national news for being the most chaotic invasion in freshwater history, those fish are now paying mortgages along the Illinois River. It is not a clean ending. The river is not what it was. Native species are not recovered. The barriers at Chicago are maintained at enormous cost and still not certain. The invasion is not over. But somewhere between ecological catastrophe and economic opportunity, a strange and improbable harvest is quietly scaling up, net by net, processing line by processing line, export container by export container. America's strangest harvest isn't going away, and neither, for now, are the fish. Farmers and fishermen across the country are finding solutions every day, and we're here to share them. Hit subscribe and stay with us for more stories from the front lines of food, land, and the battles happening just beneath the surface.